All right, so this is a instructional on how to write a paragraph. I'm going to start with what's called the triangle of support. Um, the triangle of support is a graphic representation of what your paragraph, every paragraph in your research paper should do, and that is um, make an assertion, um, support that assertion with a quote or some kind of data. If you're doing a scientific paper, this would be your data that you collect about whatever you're studying. But in a history paper, this would be a source, a credible source. Um, so either a history professor or um, possibly even a original source, a journalist maybe on the scene of a historical event or something like that. And then um, the last bottom here is interpretation. So here we have our assertion um, that something is a certain way. We have a source that supports that assertion. And then you have an interpretation of a source, which the interpretation is meant to show how the source um, backs up the uh, assertion. So let's just insert those aspects here. So we have the assertion, and the assertion we're going to put along here. And then we have the, we're going to call the support. And then we're going to have the along the bottom we're going to have the interpretation, or we'll call this the exposition. That means you're exposing um, your support, or yeah, you're exposing your support to what you assert. So you're exposing the way that your mind is working to ally this support with this assertion. So what these end up being in a paragraph is your first sentence in your each paragraph should be this. Your second sentence in each paragraph should include this. So possibly a quote, possibly some sort of data, but it goes in the middle of your paragraph, and then the end of your paragraph should be explaining how your support supports what you're asserting. So I'm going to even here, I'm going to draw, let's see, I'm going to draw a line here to show this goes to this, and then this goes to this. So this is the way that this is just to remind you that uh, your exposition, we're going to actually put it like this, that your exposition always explains how your support makes your assertion true. All right? So those are your parts of your paragraph. Now, what does this actually look like when you write your thesis? Well, I'm going to go to my outline here. So my first paragraph is Italy, and I have a quote here. It says, Italy, one, economic power. And remember, my assertion is that Italy was wishing in World War II to increase its economic power through the expansion of territory. So if I come down here, I see that Italy, economic power. In the 19th century political and economic logic of Mussolini, it was easier to seize territory in Africa or the Balkans for raw materials not obtainable in Italy through trade. So what I'm going to do is, when I'm writing my sentence, I'm going to, for this paragraph, for this first paragraph, I'm going to intro it and say, Italy was an expanding nation that wanted more wealth to grow its economy. And I didn't spell either of those right, but that's okay. That's what spell check is for. All right, to grow its economy, right? This is going to be my intro kind of to this section. And then I'm going to say, in his book entitled and I'm going to italicize the book name, as you guys know, The Great Powers, Eastern Europe, and the Economic Origins of World War II, comma, and I'm going to go off italics, Paul and Hayne, H-E-H-E-H-N, states that, and then I'm just going to copy this quote, and it's in quotations, and I'm not going to capitalize the first letter because my sentence, it's part of my sentence, and my sentence started way back here, right? It's easier to see territory, and then I'm going to end my quote, or I'm going to end my quote without the period, and I'm going to put what page it's on. It's on page 46. So I'm going to put his last name, H-E-H-N, and 46. All right, and then I'm going to end my sentence. So now, in any future quotes that I use from Hayne, I'm only going to put the page number unless I switch authors. If I switch authors, I'll put their name in the page number in parentheses. But in the MLA format, this is the way you cite pages, or cite sources. So now I've got my assertion, I've got my support, and now I just have to do this last bit, which is here we go. This last bit, which is the exposition. So I'm going to say Haynes' commentary shows that Italy was more interested in, and I could say expanding its wealth than keeping the peace. He points out that it was easier to fight to get raw materials than to trade. Easier, I'm going to say for Italy to fight. And that is how you make a paragraph. So now I've got my assertion. I have my support, and I have my exposition or my explanation of how that support, my exposition or my explanation of how that support backs up my assertion, right? So exposition, support, assertion.